Hello, I'm Jim McKay. Last winter I was flying in a charter plane over the magnificent snow-covered Alps of Switzerland from St. Moritz down to Geneva. And a man in the airplane with me, a very cultured English gentleman, struck up a conversation. I finally asked him what he did for a living, and he said, I am the foremost, the best known, actually, I think, promoter of figure-of-8 automobile racing in England and the continent. Well, I had no idea before that figure-8 racing, as we call it somewhat more simply, had spread all the way across the Atlantic Ocean. In concept, it's very simple. You remember those movies where a train was almost always hitting an automobile as they came to the intersection? Well, that's figure-of-8 racing, really. It's the same basic appeal. The automobiles on a figure-8 shaped course with an intersection. The action usually comes at the X. Our man at that X is Chris Economaki.
Hello, everyone. I'm Chris Economaki standing at what in a very few moments will be the busiest intersection in the eastern half of the United States. For this is the X. It marks the spot of the figure-8 circuit of the Islip Speedway on eastern Long Island, where today 106 drivers from a dozen states and 2 Canadian provinces have converged on this track, looking for the $1,000 winner's share of a $6,600 purse, and more importantly, the crown of World Figure-8 Chop Car Champion. It all happens right here at the X, for this marks the spot. The strategy takes place here, the braking takes place here, the excitement, and more importantly, the crashes.
There's a look at just a small part of this crowd, a capacity crowd that paid $6 apiece to get in to see this. Right now down to Chris with the defending champion, Mike Pinchard.
What about the strategy of a race like this? You just go, or do you plan it?
It's not to just go. It's more, you got to more plan to see where the holes are, try and stay in traffic as long as you can, and that way the other cars have to let off. But if you go out by yourself, they won't stop for you. It's, a lone car is, easy pickers. They could pick them right off. But when you're in a pack, the other cars tend to let off, and back off a little bit, rather than a lone car.
Mike, it looks a lot faster this year than it's ever been before. That makes it tougher judging going through the X?
Not really, because most of the guys who are in the race are all good drivers, and they all know enough to either get on it or get off it. And if they do that, you're pretty well safe, because you can base yourself to go behind or ahead of them.
How important are brakes?
Very important, because if you don't have those, you come up to the X and you have to slow down and stop. It'll be a total loss every time going out there.
Okay, and here they are getting ready for the start. 30 cars out there. And on the first row, we have number 45, Mike Moriarty of Wyandanch, New York. Number 88, Bob Swickla of Windsor Locks, Connecticut. Second row, number 55, Gordon Brown of St. Petersburg, Florida. Number 77, Larry Lalone of Medford, New York. And the rest of them spread out behind those men.
Swickla in second place, Jim, represents Riverside Park in Agawam, Mass, and they're off.
Green flag. This will be 10 laps around the figure-8 course. And remember, this is a race. It's not a stunt. The idea is not to crash into the other cars, but to miss the other cars.
It'll be pretty clean for a few laps, Jim, until the leaders run into the tail enders, and then when it gets exciting at the end.
Okay, this is the third of 3 qualifying heats. The first 6 cars in this, actually, will move on to the final, which we'll be seeing later on Wide World today. So the object here basically is to finish in the top 6. But they're the leaders at the moment. Number 45, Mike Moriarty, now being passed by number 88, Bob Swickla. So Swickla, the pride of Windsor Locks, Connecticut, has the lead. Chris?
He's doing quite a good job. He's got his car set up. He's a track champion, as I said before, up in Massachusetts. The field today is composed of many visitors from around the country. Whoop, there's action in the intersection. And they've won starting positions in the race here by virtue of winning local track championships.
Okay, and that car going off the side was Bob Swickla in car number 98, who had been a leader of this competition. Watch number 55, just going out of your picture. 55 taking the lead from 45. So a new car enters the picture. Gordon Brown, at number 55, has taken the lead by going down on the other side of the track for number 45, Mike Moriarty.
This is where the judgment comes into play, Jim. If you run up to the X and stop, somebody way behind you can get some momentum and go right by you. You have to really sort of look ahead in this kind of racing.
Okay, now we have number 82, Bob Seuss of Link Run, Tunkoma, New York, moving in the thick of it into second place there. You see just behind number 55, Gordon Brown. Also 94, Ian Anderson of Arbutus, Maryland is among the top 4.
Anderson's the champ at the Dorsey Speedway down there. Seuss has come up from 8th place. He's working well on the track.
And as you see, that sometimes have to stop at the intersection. There is the leader, number 55, Gordon Brown. And watch 82, however. Bob Seuss taking the lead.
Jim, it's interesting to note that on the track they painted arrows to show the drivers which... Whoops, there's a hood coming off.
Oh, boy, that's real danger. No fooling around there. That thing could have taken the top off a car or of a driver.
That's right.
And at that moment, number 55, Gordon Brown, has retaken the lead.
They're following the arrows, as you can see, but then when they get to the X, why, the arrows point in all four directions. You know, the cars would be faster, Jim, except the regulations do not allow any 8-cylinder cars. Every car entered is a 6-cylinder.
Okay, Gordon Brown, the leader, will look out. Number 45, Mark Moriarty, is going for the lead on the inside. Those are the two lead cars fighting for the lead. It's pretty good as figure 8 racing goes. It's very close.
Look, they get around the corners beautifully, but they can't seem to handle the straightaways. And there's Dutchman on the starter getting out of the way.
Okay, and that is 55, Gordon Brown, who had been the leader, spinning out, along with 94, Ian Anderson. Two of the first 4 cars are out of it. And we're going to have a red flag. Red flag, the race will resume as soon as they're reorganized. But here is the moment when that hood flew off the car, I believe.
Not from the speed, it's just a poorly prepared automobile, bounces off the roof, and then scales across like a frisbee.
We'll be back in a minute.
You know the AMF Sunfish. She's one of the most popular sailboats in the world. Well, here comes one you probably don't know. Her new sister, AMF Force 5. Look at that one. You can tell that she's not just for fun. She's built for speed, and she'll run rings around practically anything in her class. She's named for the wind she moves with, Force 5. And when that wind comes up, she makes it play right into her hands. She handles like a thoroughbred because she is one, right out of the same stable as the Sunfish. If you've got the racing bug in you, and who doesn't, she'll bring out the best in you. Force 5, she's the latest member of the AMF fleet, and you'll be hearing plenty about her. AMF Sailboat.
Qualifying heat at the World Figure 8 Stock Car Championships in Islip, New York. The previous leader, number 45, Mike Moriarty, couldn't get his car started for the restart, so he is out of it. And the new leader is number 82, Bob Seuss, who's been so consistent in this race, coming up from the 4th or 5th row on the start. Second now is number 156, Bob Doyle of Central Islip, New York.
The locals are back in front. The visitors were doing well. Brown, who went out, number 55, was a champ at Sunshine Speedway in St. Petersburg, and there's the white flag, Jim, 1 lap to go.
Okay, well, all you have to do here, remember, is finish in the top 6 in order to move on to the final. So one would expect these two cars. The number 7 is a lap down. Don't worry about him. It's 82 and 156. And they're just kind of cooling it, as we say, to safely finish among the top 6 and move on to the final.
Doyle putting on quite a challenge. He came up from 22nd place.
There's the checkered flag, and there on your screen you see the 6 cars that will move on to the final, which we'll see later. Quick reminder here that next week on Wide World of Sports, Saturday, January 26th, you'll see one of the great sports events of our time. For the first time on television, Muhammad Ali against Joe Frazier in their famous first fight. Both of the former champions, Ali and Frazier, will be in the studio with Howard Cosell a week from now at a special time, 4:30 Eastern, 3:30 Central, and 5:30 Pacific time. We'll be back here for the final of the figure 8s. Right now, we're going to move on to Innsbruck, Austria for ski jumping. Here's my colleague, Bill Fleming.
Thanks very much.